get on to other wider macro issues. Labour leaders were at the Presidential Villa a few hours ago for a meeting with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The meeting comes just hours after the unions follow through on their threat to protest against the economic hardship that follows the removal of petrol subsidy payments and the unification of the central bank foreign exchange rates. Earlier today, there were organized protests in Lagos, Abuja, and in other parts of the country, as put together by the Workers' Union under the umbrella of the NLC and the TUC. Let's take a listen.
We stand with our national leadership to embark on this peaceful protest rally to register our displeasure over the developments in recent months. We say this is a march for the survival of Nigeria and Nigerians. The removal of fuel subsidy was hasty with no thought-out plan to cushion the effect on workers and other Nigerians already at the poverty belt. Today, every family feels the fang of the harsh policies of government, which has resulted in the astronomical increase in transportation, food, goods and services, while protect subsidy criminals. Increase in fuel price, increase in poverty and criminality.
Okay, so let's get a wider picture of today's labor protests in Abuja, Lagos, and elsewhere. My colleagues, RIS correspondents, Benjamin is live in our Abuja studios, while Adeoye is on standby on the street of Lagos here. Good evening to both of you. Thank you very much. Let's start with you in Abuja, Punarima. What's your overall takeaway of today's labor protest in Abuja, by the way? What do you make of it?
I'll say that the protest that held in Abuja was very big. From yesterday night, when we got the information that there will be protests today by the NLC, TUC, we doubted if it was really going to happen, because there are times where the NLC will they will send a statement that they're going to have a protest or strike, and at the end of the day, nothing, will happen. So when I woke up this morning, I was still having that doubt that this protest may not even hold. But when I got to the Unity Fountain, the popular Unity Fountain in Nigeria's capital, I saw a lot of people, gathered, and I was wondering, oh wow, this protest is really going to happen. And they kept trooping in large numbers. It was a bit, the weather was threatening to rain, but they were not even, ready to leave. They kept gathering and they kept gathering, after which they moved to the Ministry of Justice, where the NLC president, addressed the crowd. He was telling them not to, not to be discouraged, and they should all be determined to ensure that this protest gets, to the desired, result. And from the Ministry of Justice, they headed to the National Assembly. When they got to the National Assembly, of course, our crew was, following them, step by step as they move. We got to the National Assembly, but the unfortunate thing was that the gate was locked. The security operatives were just standing by. Nobody even wanted to say anything. And some of the protesters started to shake the gate, and they pulled the gate down. And when I looked at them, I said, these people are really determined, to continue with this protest. And when they removed the gate, people now gain entrance into the National Assembly. While we're moving in, we got to the Citizen Square, where we're expecting members to come and address the protesters. But after a long wait, the whole protesters took over the National Assembly. Some came from different, entrances, not from the major, entrance. And while we're waiting, Senator Ali Ndume came, and Senator Ireti Kinkibi, that's the senator representing the FCT, to address, the protesters. While they were addressing the protesters, Senator Ndume was assuring them that they are going to ensure that their demands are being met. And of course, we know that one of the things that they wanted the federal government to do is to ensure that palliatives are being provided for the masses, because a lot of Nigerians, will be expecting that the government will do something, to reduce the hardship on transport fare, the hardship on the prices, the increase in the petroleum fare. So this continued to happen until the protesters were, getting very agitated at some point, because they were eager to hear something that would really give them hope. And then later, Senator Ndume said to them that they should give them 1 week so that they can act on their demands. And that was what gave them some kind of succor, and made them believe that something can be done, you understand, to ensure that their sufferings are being reduced.
Okay, thank you, Punarima. Let's quickly touch with Oba Adeoye here in Lagos. Oba, thanks for standing by there. How resolute do you think the Labour leaders are in terms of their demands to the government? Puna was just touching on that.
You remember that some days ago, the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, that's Comrade Joe Ajero, gave the government a 7-day ultimatum to meet up with certain demands that they are putting on the table of the government, failure of which led to the protests that we saw today across the nation. They have been mounting it, and they insist that indeed they will wait on the government to act, that until the government acts on these demands, they were going to continue with the protests. But at the end of today's protest in Ikeja, I spoke with some of their leaders off the camera, and they confided, or they told me that indeed that the protest of today is just a one-off, just to warn the government and then wait for the government to act. That failure of the government to act, they may be forced to return to the street. Their demands are on the table: immediate reversal of the subsidy, or an upward review of the salaries of workers, especially university teachers and the workers across board. So they have been mounting the same thing over and over. But apart from today's action, mass action in Lagos and in other parts of the country, there is nothing again to show indeed that the labor unions are resolute about their demands. You remember that this is not the first time that the labor unions will be calling for a mass action. The last time they did, the government went to the court, and before the mass action could start, the court had ruled that it was illegal for them to embark on that action. But this time around, they went on the street. One was, a lot of people were expecting to see a total shutdown of activities in major cities, especially Lagos and Abuja. But what I saw this morning, people were still going about their daily activities, not giving serious thought to the protests that happened in Lagos today. They were still moving about, although some people joined them, but not the majority of the people I saw on the street.
Adeoye, just let me touch back very quickly with Puna in Abuja. Did you hear, or what did you hear on the streets in Abuja and from the protesters about these protests? As far as the ordinary Nigerians are concerned, do you think they really think this will give them the answer that they want, aside from what President Tinubu spoke about in that very lengthy address on Monday evening? Puna.
Okay, so I will say that most Nigerians that we spoke with on our way during the protests were not, they were supporting the move made by the NLC. They're supporting the protest, but they are not, supporting the Nigerian government. They are not sure that the Nigerian government will be able to do anything to ameliorate their sufferings, especially the fact that one of them told us that a lot of times government will make promises, but at the end of the day, they don't get to see anything. Even the palliatives that the government is working to provide, they are not sure if it will get to them. you know, and a lot of them were complaining about transport fare. I was surprised to hear that someone is saying that he treks from Secretariat to Maraba to Cairo, you know. You may not, if you're not conversant with Abuja, you may not be sure how far, you know, it is, but it's quite a distance. So some were complaining of how far they trek each time they come to work. And they're also complaining that their salaries have not, you know, been increased. So why would they have to pay so much on transport fare? Some were also supporting the removal of a subsidy, but they are saying that if government removes subsidy, there should be something that will help them to cushion the effect, because they're actually feeling it really, really hard.
Interesting. Thank you, Puna. Oba, just let's wrap it up with you. Do you think the ordinary Nigerians, that's part of my question to Puna there, do you think they're in bed with the NLC and the TUC on this protest? Do you think they see this protest as the solution to the problems they would have? Mr. President said on Monday evening that, look, there's no quick fix to what he has laid his fingers on as far as those reforms are concerned, so we'll all have to wait. What feelings did you get in the street?
I really do not see Nigerians made up their mind whether to join the organized labor in this protest. They have not really shown anything to prove that indeed they are with labor on this protest. Like I told you earlier, that this is not the first time that the organized labor will be embarking on a mass action, and it appears to me like Nigerians have lost some trust in the organized labor to fight their battle for them. Otherwise, in the past, on a day like this, you will see thousands of Nigerians willingly join such a protest, but that did not happen in Lagos today. Like I told you earlier, in Ikeja, people were going about their businesses. The commercial drivers, the shop owners were opened. They were just looking at the protesters as if they were acting a drama. Perhaps if the protest will continue after today, perhaps more people will still join them. But what I saw on the faces of people today, and what I heard the people, talk about today, it is not certain that the people have absolute trust in the organized labor to push for their demands to the government. But like I said, this is the first day of the protest. Let's see what comes after. Perhaps the people will be convinced, will be motivated to trust the labor in this battle to, bring succor to them in terms of the rising cost of living in Nigeria. So let's see what comes out of the meeting that the labor leaders are having with the government. What comes out of that meeting will determine whether the organized labor they are going to embark on a fresh protest, or they are just going to put it there. And that's what Nigerians are waiting for before they decide whether to identify fully with the organized labor or take their fate into their hands and keep praying as usual.
All right, we thank you both for your coverage of the labor unions protest today. Thank you so much, both in Lagos and Abuja, Adeoye in Lagos and Punarima, Benjamin Abuja. Thank you both for your time. We appreciate it, colleagues. Thank you very much. Okay.